A Myanmar leader, Min Aung Hlaing, has arrived in Laos, marking his first trip to an ASEAN member state since becoming president in April. The visit follows his recent trips to India and China. Our Myanmar and ASEAN correspondent Leong Wai Kit looks at what the visit means for Myanmar's ties with ASEAN and the wider regional dynamics.
Myanmar leader Min Aung Hlaing, after visiting India and China after taking office as the country's president, has made another significant diplomatic visit. His trip to Laos is notable as Laos is an ASEAN member. Now, as a bloc, ASEAN has not endorsed Min Aung Hlaing's government nor the staggered elections held between late 2025 and earlier this year. But that has not stopped individual ASEAN members from taking their own positions with Myanmar. Laos, for instance, has had various exchanges with Myanmar this year, including a delegation led by the Lao-Myanmar Friendship Association to Naypyidaw. The two countries also held a series of high-level exchanges just last month. A Lao military delegation visited Myanmar, while Lao Foreign Minister Thongsahan Phongvihan met Min Aung Hlaing in Naypyidaw. Signs that pointed toward this eventual visit to Laos.
Myanmar is the only ASEAN country that has long borders with both China and India. None of the other ASEAN countries have borders with India. Well, Laos and Vietnam have borders with China. Vietnam is a special case, but Laos is heavily dependent on China.
China's policy on Myanmar has long been one of non-interference, with Beijing occasionally urging Myanmar to pursue peace and reconciliation while ensuring stability along their shared border. Ever since Min Aung Hlaing concluded his India trip, the Myanmar army has been pushing to reclaim territories from its opponents in a bid to reopen India-Myanmar trade routes. His China trip also resulted in at least 18 agreements being signed with Beijing in areas like trade, healthcare and infrastructure cooperation. While Min Aung Hlaing's diplomatic trips to India and China are seen as beneficial to Myanmar, Dr. Kin Zaw-win says it's not a one-way road.
What we have to also look out for is whether China or India is going to pressure Myanmar, to be a pressure point on ASEAN. That may sound strange, but on certain issues, is dealing with Myanmar alone, or dealing with ASEAN as a whole going to be different? Like, for instance, scam operations. Myanmar is a center, but so is Cambodia. So ASEAN is complaining about it. So do the big countries deal with only Myanmar or deal with ASEAN as a whole? On certain cooperation matters like against trafficking or police cooperation.
So what can Min Aung Hlaing's trip to Laos bring for Myanmar? And more importantly, what would this trip mean for ASEAN? For one, the bloc is expected to remain firm on its position on Myanmar, calling for the implementation of the agreed 5-point consensus peace plan before Min Aung Hlaing or his foreign minister can attend ASEAN meetings in person. And while ASEAN will continue to stress that the bloc remains united on that front, individual member states are beginning to open up to Myanmar. Of the 11 ASEAN member states, 5 countries have sent their foreign ministers to Myanmar since the start of the year: the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia and Laos. Naypyidaw has slammed certain ASEAN members, without naming them, for not recognizing its efforts to hold elections and establish a new government now led by Min Aung Hlaing. But Thailand has vowed to help Myanmar bridge the gap with ASEAN. And with Min Aung Hlaing's visit to Laos, Vientiane is signalling its willingness to deepen diplomatic engagement with Myanmar. Among other ASEAN countries that have yet to send their top diplomats to Myanmar, analysts point out that Naypyidaw can count on Cambodia and Vietnam for bilateral support. One key outcome for Myanmar is whether Laos will be the first of more ASEAN countries to welcome Min Aung Hlaing in the coming months. And while ASEAN's unified stance on Myanmar is unlikely to change, the question is to what extent such bilateral engagements will shape those dynamics. Leong Wai Kit, CNA.